So as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I wanted to do a video that discussed and talked about Warren Buffett. And the reason I wanted to do that is I often hear people talking about what Warren Buffett has accomplished when it comes to investing in stocks, and they use that almost as a justification on why they should be investing in stocks. They'll say, oh, if Warren Buffett did it, why can't I? And the reality of the matter is you can't. It's as simple as that. Warren Buffett was an incredibly intelligent, incredibly successful investor for a number of different reasons that we'll get into this video. But the reasons that it's highly unlikely that you will ever, I can almost guarantee it, that you will never see the same success as Warren Buffett did when it comes to investing. And even when it comes to picking managers of mutual funds, you will almost never get someone who has the same level of success as Warren Buffett. There are people out there that will see similar returns, similar gains, but it's kind of like striking the lottery. It's very unlikely to find someone like Warren Buffett, and I'll get into it a bit right now. Let's just jump right in. So if you're unfamiliar with who Warren Buffett is, he is the most successful investor in the history of the world. Warren Buffett is, I believe, he was the second richest man behind Bill Gates for a period of time. I believe there are people that have now surpassed them when it comes to wealth, and obviously there are people when it comes to oil money and things like that that do also have more money, but they're not technically included in this list because no one can get an accurate amount of actually how much wealth they have. But regardless of all that, Warren Buffett is one of the richest people in the world. He is by far the most successful investor in the history of the world, and he is really sort of a standout for a number of different reasons. So starting off with how Warren Buffett started in investing, he actually came from a fairly well-off family, but it wasn't sort of a rich, wealthy family that he came from. So he wasn't sort of a Donald Trump-like character where he gets $1 million to start off his business. He definitely came from a successful family. He went to a good school, he got a good education, but from a very early age, Warren Buffett was involved in business. He was involved in things like when he was a very young kid, he would collect golf balls in the water section when people would miss, and would go in there and he would sell them back to the course, and he would get people to help him with that. He started making money by having pinball machines in different areas. He was a very entrepreneurial individual from an early age, and he also got into investing at a very early age, and he was fairly successful right at the start. And so from there he went to school, and eventually he started focusing almost entirely on investing as a career path. And there were a number of different reasons on why he became and is the best and most successful financial investor in the history of the world. And there are a lot of them, and I'm only going to get into 3 just to keep the video short. If you're looking for more information about Warren Buffett, there was actually a biography that I have read and I found very useful. It is Buffett, Making of an American Capitalist. I've read a number of biographies of different individuals. I've read Sam Walton's biography, the founder of Walmart, and a number of different people. And a lot of them are very dry and they have valuable information in them, but they aren't necessarily the best read. This is one of the few that I actually found very valuable and very interesting. Warren Buffett had a very interesting life, and there's a lot of valuable lessons that can be learned from what he did and what he accomplished. But again, if you want to check that out, I highly recommend it. It is a fairly good read. But getting into sort of the 3 things that made Warren Buffett so successful as an investor, the first is the dedication of time that he spent into actually finding the best investments for choices. Warren Buffett would spend hours upon hours upon hours a day. He dedicated his life to investing. He would pore over financial sheets. He would basically understand every aspect of a business before investing in it. He was incredibly dedicated in actually choosing an investment. So he would spend upwards of 10, 12 hours a day just looking at financial statements to find the best investment. So tying this back into those people that say, if Warren Buffett did it, I can do it too, and I actually have heard people say this before. Well, if you're not willing to dedicate 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day solely to figuring out what kind of investments are the best, you will not see the same types of returns as Warren Buffett. Now, in that situation, obviously, people can spend that amount of time, but it won't guarantee that you make the right decisions. Another sort of aspect that tacks onto that, Warren Buffett, I don't believe he had a photographic memory, but a near photographic memory. So he had an incredible ability to take in an enormous amount of knowledge and sort of digest that, and that helped him quite a bit. Now, the second major thing, and this is what really differentiates him from other investors and you, is that when Warren Buffett invested, specifically during the years, sort of his prime investing years when he was the most successful, he would actually typically acquire ownership in a specific company. So he would actually buy management ownership, and he would actually go in and solve whatever issues were going on with that company. So there were a number of different times he did this, but often he would invest in things like, say, a newspaper company that was failing for whatever reason. He would buy ownership shares, go in, work with management to turn it around and make a significant amount of profit. He did this a number of times, and this is one of the reasons he was a very successful investor. He wasn't someone who just purchased a stock and let it grow and hoped that it worked out. He was very active in the companies that he invested in. And so this is really what differentiates what Warren Buffett did as an investor to what you probably will be able to do as an investor. Warren Buffett had hundreds of millions of dollars, and he was able to go in and actually turn around a company. Unless you have hundreds of millions of dollars, it's very unlikely that you will be able to do the same. And that's a huge issue, and that's a huge differentiation between the sort of potential returns that you could see. When you can actually go in and change a company, and really, it allows you to make a significant profit off that. And that's one of the reasons why he was so successful. He actually went in and took an active management role in many of the companies that he was investing in. And sort of the last, one of the major things that is a differentiation between now and then is actually the times itself. Warren Buffett was engaged in something known as value investing. Value investing is when you find a company, say a company that's doing poorly for whatever reason, it's undervalued. So its market value in securities or whatever it is in assets is undervalued compared to what the company is operating at now. And then he would invest in it, and as I mentioned, turn it around. Now the key with value investing is back when Warren Buffett was doing what he was doing, often there were a lot of opportunities because there wasn't as much information available. It wasn't as easy for people to find these value companies. Now you can still do that today, but the issue is there's so much information out there, and there's so many people actively doing it and looking for companies that are undervalued with computer programs that crunch numbers and break them down, and a lot of different resources that aggregate things, look at things, and determine what is the best value. A lot of the opportunities that were available, say, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, when it came to companies that were undervalued, they still exist today for sure, but they're a lot harder to find, and often they're found by other people. So realistically, there are a number of reasons beyond this on why Warren Buffett was such a successful investor, but the reality of the matter is, if you're approaching stocks and stock investing because you think you can earn a significant return, like someone like Warren Buffett, it is highly unlikely you'll be able to do that. And Warren Buffett himself actually recommends that for the vast majority of investors, the appropriate path to investing is to go with quality mutual funds and quality ETFs, which are exchange-traded funds, effectively mutual funds bought on a stock exchange, and consistently invest in those. Stocks are really dangerous as an investment option. You can earn a return, you can earn a good return, but it's very hard to do so consistently, and you expose yourself to a lot of risk. It really is not worth it, especially if you're not looking to spend hours upon hours upon hours each day trying to figure out what is the best quality for you. So this sort of ends my breakdown on Warren Buffett, just sort of the key points on why he was so successful. As I mentioned, the biography is actually a very good read, one of the few biographies that I really enjoyed, and I would highly recommend it because he was a very interesting fellow, both in his business side and his life as well. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and it really helps me out and create more content.